Much needed break for our guys last week, and we're able to shelve a number of guys, and even the guys that did practice, we weren't out there very long, worked a lot on our younger players and did some drills with those guys, and just continued to evaluate some of the guys that haven't played for us. And now we're back into game week. We practiced on Saturday, gave them off on Sunday, and so we'll see them again for the first time later on this afternoon. And now we'll have total focus on knowing who we're playing. So I think the guys are refreshed, probably as much mentally as anything. Just the grind of a season, to be able to get away for a few days is good. And looking forward to a great week of practice and a great atmosphere inside Gate City Bank Field for San Diego coming in town. So open up for questions.
Chris, is this the biggest unknown team that you faced since your time at NDSU?
Well, just because we haven't ever seen them in crossover film, other than, looking this last week at Cal Poly. We saw them against Montana a few years ago, but, because they're not, regionally located, we just don't ever see them on film. So we've been, we looked at them a little bit last week, and then obviously Saturday and Sunday we dug a little bit deeper and spent an awful lot of time on them.
What do you know about them?
Well, a couple things. You watch their body of work over the year, and they've won 10 ball games, so they're doing something right. I've been very impressed defensively. They're really gap sound. They play what they're going to play and do it at a real high level. They lead the nation in a lot of defensive statistics because they don't play a lot of things, and they get their guys to do what they do and play it well. And they're well coached on defense. And then offensively, I think the running back's an exceptional player. The quarterback did some great things against Cal Poly, and you see him throughout the year doing some of those things. And the tight end and receiver combination are exceptional. So it'll be a really good opponent coming in here.
Were you surprised at the result on Saturday night? Did you guys kind of mentally at least prepared to play Cal Poly?
Well, no, we prepared for both like we always would. Just to be able to break down film on both teams and then practice for a little bit on one team, a little bit on the other team. That didn't change from what we've done in the past. We scaled back practice from what we've done in the past as well, just because of the amount of guys we had down. But when you saw the game develop and saw how the weather was, I think it was a pretty good neutralizer for that option offense. And those guys had a chip on their shoulder. They'd played them and not beaten them, and I'm sure thought that they had enough bullets to beat them, and they definitely showed it on Saturday. I was really impressed with the game plan. They dominated the football game. It wasn't even close, even though the score may have made it look like it was a two-score game. Shoot, I think they could have beat them by 4 or 5 scores. They threw the ball at will, and they shut down the big fullback, and that's what you had to do in the rain.
Do they remind you of anybody that you have seen in the past couple of years?
No, they're pretty unique in their own right. It's more to play Cal Poly, it's option offense. Well, this is what you would say more conventional offense like we would run, or like Western Illinois would run, or anybody else in our league would run. They're going to get into big personnel and run the football. They're going to spread the field out and throw it around a little bit. They're going to use the perimeter to get some bubble screens and get their tailback out there. The quarterback, I think, throws the ball exceptionally well, especially some back shoulder fades and stuff that are difficult to defend, and they have some height at wide receiver.
Any update on Pierre's knee?
I know it's getting better. Obviously we didn't practice him at all last week, but I know that improving daily, and we hope he can move around a little bit this week. Now, is that going to be good enough to play? I think we'll probably need to know by the end of the day Wednesday, but I know he's improved really well over the last few days.
If he can't go, then who do you play?
Well, then it'll be a combination of Chris Board, Levi Jordan, and probably Dom Davis, based on what the personnel is and stuff. But it's if Pierre can't go, it's Chris's time, and against a lot of our base stuff, Chris has practiced an awful long time. He's been a starter for us. The stage won't be too big for him, and I look forward to seeing how he can respond. But Chris is a competitor, so I look for him to respond really well.
Anybody else you imagine either not playing or playing? Is Bruce Anderson maybe comes right to mind?
Bruce looked good last week in limited snaps. And so I don't know if he's 100%, but he's much improved over where he was when he played just on kickoff and a little bit against South Dakota. I think he can be more focal point of our special teams for sure, as well as putting him on offense some.
Coach, you touched on this a couple weeks ago that at that time you were just getting back to running the ball the way you wanted to, and now it would seem you've done that over the last month or so. What clicked, 3-4 weeks ago that got you back to running the ball the way you wanted to?
Well, a couple of things. I think our offensive line just gelled really well there, and if you'd look over time, over the last few years, the more our offensive line plays together, the more the season goes on. Defenses wear down quicker than offenses do, and when you have a bunch of experienced guys in the offensive line like we do, as well as the tight end position, and they've done a really good job at the tight end position, I think we've been able to control the line of scrimmage. Our backs are running exceptionally well. It's helped that we've been able to get a true fullback with Robbins and Malmstrom playing some, to take some of the load off of Chase, to have to play tailback, to have to play a fullback, to have to play a slot, to have to play a tight end. He did everything. And so I think a combination of all those things, and our guys are gaining confidence running the football. And when you have that confidence running the football, it's no different than playing defense or in any other phase of the game. They want to run the football.
Do you anticipate needing to lean on Easton a little bit more than you have the last few games based on San Diego's rush defense?
Well, we'll find out. We're always going to, try to open it up a little bit. I think that's the idea. Try to get them to loosen up or soften up. Now, what will they do differently against us? I don't know. They haven't had an MO to be able to say we're going to change. But they beat the heck out of everybody in their league. I mean, the games aren't even close, so they haven't needed to make any adjustments. Will they do that against us? I don't know. I wouldn't think you've won 10 games doing what you do. Why wouldn't you continue to do that? But Easton will be a big focal point, whether it is him running the football, him out on the edge, or him in the 3- and 5-step game.
There's a point of emphasis at the beginning of the year. Easton coming back with experience, having played some of last year, but played in the playoffs last year. How valuable is that heading into this game?
Oh, it's crucial, to have the success that he had in the playoffs and leading the team and making great decisions. And I know that'll help him, give him more confidence as we get into this weekend.
Does Chris Board have that mentality on kickoff coverage? What is it about his mentality?
Fearless, the ability to say, I'm going to go make the play. Chris is a big physical guy that he's hard to block in space, and he can rip through blocks. He's athletic enough to avoid things. And he's been on that kickoff team for so many years, as well as the punt team. He just has a knack to understand it. It's no different than somebody playing linebacker or DB every snap. Chris has a great knack to understand what we're trying to do on those schemes of those teams.
Teams that have never played in Fargo before really seem to struggle in the playoffs. What is it about this environment that brings that to the table?
Well, it's the fan base. It's Bison Nation. It's all the people that come out and support our football team. And I think the noise is a little bit louder. At least it seems like it to me. It's no question a tough venue to play in. And the teams that have been here before, or players that have been here before, they know what to expect. And teams that haven't been here before, you just never know how they're going to react. I thought Charleston Southern never been here before. They reacted really well, so I don't know how they're going to react. But it's something that we know is a big advantage to us.
2014 field, I think without the expansion, San Diego probably doesn't make it. Pioneer doesn't get an auto bid. What's your view of the expansion to 24 teams?
Well, it's how long has it been 24 teams now? And Yeah, so I wish it would only be 16, and I wish they would end it before Christmas, like they used to. In the same respect, you're then taking away opportunities for teams to be playoff teams. So, and we may be one of those teams in coming years. I know we've been one of those teams in the past. I've been a part of different programs that probably were on the outside looking in or close to that when it was a 16-team field. So I don't think that's going to change. I think we're going to stay with 24 and do it the way it is. I just think it's an awful lot of football. I think to play 15, 16 games is an awful lot of football. They're not doing it anywhere other than the professional level. But in the same respect, you're giving a bunch of people opportunities to continue to play, and I know they don't want to take that away.
Is it hard? Is it hard physically, mentally, school time? What?
Both. It's unbelievably hard physically. You know, for the teams like that are continuing to play without that bye week, it's really hard mentally. You know, we're also dealing with less bodies than they are at the FBS. You know, less scholarships, less bodies. That, you know, we're trying like heck to get more people into fall camp like the FBS has, so that we can develop more bodies. You know, as well as. Absolutely, you could say school's a factor in that. You know, it's difficult. That's a difficult time for guys to keep their body fresh and do it for nonstop from end of July through Christmas for sure.
Does the length of the season stress the recruiting part of the program, and how have you guys adapted to that?
Well, we've learned to adapt as best we can, but other than the 16 teams that are left right now, everybody else is out on the road sitting in homes right now saying, why isn't School X here? We're here. And you can say, and there's 16 of us out there saying, well, we're playing. But it's still difficult because you're not around that young man. You're not around the mom and dad or grandma that's going to be a big factor in the decision-making process. So it's, if you're playing a bowl game, maybe you send out 4 or 5 assistants and keep your coordinators back in like a lot of schools do. If you're playing in a playoff game, I don't feel that it's an injustice to our team to say, okay, Matt and Tim, you stay in, everybody else go out. Well, what am I saying to that defensive line coach when Gazer and Kane aren't there, that it's not important because we got to move on to next year? This is this year. So, you know, it's definitely difficult in the recruiting process. We've been managing it fairly well, but it's not easy.
But has it hurt you? I mean, you just said you've managed it well. Has it hurt you in specific cases? Because it seems like you're doing okay.
Well, no question it's hurt us, Mike. Absolutely it's hurt us. We've lost out on some guys that either maybe we would have gotten a chance to visit, or it was between us and another school, and that school wasn't in the playoffs, and they're in that kid's home 3 consecutive weeks, and mom got to know that coach much better than they got to know one of our coaches. Absolutely, it's hurt us in that. You know, winning helps. Don't get me wrong. Winning helps immensely. But it's still recruiting. The number one thing about recruiting is building relationships. That is the number one thing, is building relationships. And if you have a great relationship with a coach that you're seeing 4 or 5 weeks in a row, or 3 weeks in a row break and then a couple more weeks, you're just going to have a better rapport with that person than somebody just talking on the phone.
Any results surprise you or open your eyes this weekend outside of maybe San Diego?
You know, I was rooting for Brock and Illinois State to win. I was able to watch a little bit. It sounded like the block punt probably cost them a little bit, at least turned the momentum. That was the one that I kind of followed, and then we went out to practice, so I didn't really get a chance to follow any of the other ones. I saw Youngstown won. I don't know how they played and how they won, but obviously for our league, I was happy with Youngstown and wish Illinois State would have held serve. But you know, we're down to 16, and everybody has a case to be a viable candidate to move to 8, to move to 4, and so on.
Do you know the coach from San Diego at all? Dale Lindsay. He's been around for a long time.
No, I don't believe I've met Dale. I'm looking forward to meeting him. He's got a wealth of experience and been a lot of places, and done a tremendous job at San Diego. That's for sure. Done a tremendous job there.
You mentioned the physical and mental grind of this whole playoff season. How important was it to have maybe a day or two just away from it over the last week?
It was great for everybody, from players to coaches alike, to just get your mind away and to sit around on a Friday and a Saturday, or a Thursday, a Friday, and a Saturday, and watch some football and not worry about having to prepare. And I think the guys need that. The players need that in the worst way. And we all know, and we talk about how tough the Missouri Valley is. Well, everybody normally plays 8 straight games. I know this year was a little different story with Indiana State, Illinois State, but everybody plays 8 straight games, and you need a break from that mentally. You really do. And that's not going to happen right now. So the best way to get that break is by getting a bye. And so I think it'll help our guys just clear their mind a little bit. And obviously, some of the linemen, especially that are beat up a little bit more, the extra treatments, the extra time away, us not being in pads once last week. We just went out in basically what we call our spiders or jerseys for 2 days, so they haven't had any physical pounding. Now today we'll put the pads on.